perfectly normal.
I don't mean to freak you out, but this place gives me the creeps.
I think she's making me sicker.
It's the medication.
No, it's not the medication. Why do I feel worse?
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
The story of Eli has remained one of the more intriguing psychological horror experiences because it takes a concept that seems familiar on the surface and slowly twists it into something unexpected and unsettling. The film centers on a young boy battling a mysterious illness that prevents him from living a normal life, forcing him into isolation and constant fear of the outside world. His parents, desperate for a cure and running out of hope, decide to take him to an isolated medical facility that promises a breakthrough treatment. At first glance, the facility appears safe, clean, modern, and reassuring, with the calmness of its halls hiding any trace of danger. But as the story unfolds, the atmosphere begins to shift, and the building transforms from a sanctuary into a suffocating trap where nothing is as it seems. The promise of healing slowly becomes overshadowed by the fear that the cure may be more dangerous than the disease. Eli's condition is portrayed not just as a physical burden, but as an emotional weight that shapes every aspect of his young life. He longs for normalcy, for play, for freedom, and for moments where he doesn't have to fear the air he breathes. His parents carry their own emotional scars, torn between hope and guilt, doing everything they can to save him even when their decisions grow increasingly desperate. When they arrive at the secluded Manor-turned-medical center, the staff welcomes them with professionalism and sympathy, creating a fragile sense of safety that quickly begins to fracture. Eli is introduced to a rigorous treatment plan that involves experimental procedures he cannot fully understand, and each session pushes him deeper into confusion, pain, and doubt. His interactions with the doctors blur the line between care and control, making the audience question the true purpose of the treatment. As the days pass, Eli begins to notice strange occurrences throughout the facility. Shadows move where no one is standing, whispers echo through empty hallways, and sudden visions leave him questioning what is real. These haunting elements intensify the claustrophobic tone of the story. Every night brings new terror, with ghostly figures appearing to him in ways that seem almost purposeful, as though they are trying to warn him of something. These supernatural encounters create a riddle that Eli desperately tries to solve before the next treatment session begins. The building itself seems alive with secrets, hiding a past that the staff refuses to acknowledge and that Eli's parents seem unaware of. His isolation deepens, and his fear grows into the realization that he may be trapped in a place far more dangerous than his illness ever was. One of the most impactful elements of the film is the shifting nature of trust. At first, Eli's parents appear confident in their decision, convinced that they are finally giving their son the chance to live a normal life. But as the atmosphere becomes heavier and Eli's emotional state deteriorates, doubts begin to surface. They wrestle with their choices while trying to remain strong for him, yet the strain becomes visible in every interaction. Eli, on the other hand, feels increasingly abandoned and misunderstood. When he tries to explain what he sees and hears, he is dismissed as confused, frightened, or hallucinating due to stress. This tension between belief and disbelief, between fear and logic, creates the central conflict that propels the narrative toward its darker revelations. The turning point comes when Eli discovers that the ghosts haunting him are not trying to hurt him, but are instead attempting to communicate. Their appearances, though terrifying, follow patterns that begin to make sense as he uncovers hidden rooms, old files, and disturbing evidence of past patients who underwent similar treatments. Each new discovery brings a chilling realization that the facility may have been operating under false pretenses, promising healing while concealing a sinister purpose. The staff, once calm and reassuring, becomes increasingly cold and untrustworthy, their gentle smiles beginning to feel like masks hiding something darker. Eli starts to understand that he must rely on his own instincts if he wants to survive. As the truth unfolds, the film takes an unexpected turn that reframes everything the audience thought they understood. Eli learns that the nature of his illness is not what he has been told his entire life. The treatments are not curing him, but suppressing something that the doctors believe must be controlled. His illness becomes a metaphor for hidden potential, a suppressed identity, and a truth that others fear. The revelation forces Eli into a confrontation with the people he trusted most, exposing secrets that link his parents, the doctor, and the facility's terrifying history. The ghosts he feared become allies, guiding him toward the truth, and their connection to him becomes more profound than he could have imagined. The conflict escalates until Eli must choose whether to submit to the treatment or embrace the truth of what he is becoming. The final act becomes a battle not only for his life but for his identity. The sterile environment of the medical center transforms into a battleground, with locked doors, hidden chambers, and desperate attempts by the staff to control a situation spiraling beyond their grasp. Eli's parents find themselves torn between love and fear, no longer able to hide from the consequences of the choices they made long before arriving at the facility. The emotional breakdown, combined with the supernatural chaos, pushes the characters into a confrontation where all secrets must be revealed. The climax shifts into a more intense, almost mythological direction as Eli accepts the truth of his origins. This acceptance becomes the catalyst for the transformation that the facility had been trying to prevent. The supernatural energy builds into a powerful sequence where Eli confronts the forces controlling his fate. What begins as a scientific horror story evolves into a deeper exploration of lineage, destiny, and the way fear can drive people to imprison what they do not understand. The film's blend of psychological dread and supernatural revelation gives the ending a unique impact, balancing emotional catharsis with an eerie sense of inevitability. The final moments reshape the entire meaning of the narrative. Eli emerges, not as a victim of sickness, but as someone stepping into his true nature. His journey transforms from one of helplessness to empowerment, giving new context to every earlier scene. His parents face the truth of their decisions, realizing that attempting to hide or suppress what he truly is only brought suffering. The facility, with all its secrets and carefully constructed facade, becomes a symbol of the fear-driven attempts to control the extraordinary. As the story closes, Eli's transformation stands as both a release from imprisonment and a warning about the dangers of forcing someone to conform to an identity that is not their own. The emotional weight of the film lingers in the aftermath. The journey is not only about ghosts or illness, but about self-discovery under the most terrifying circumstances. Eli's arc reflects how fear can distort love, how truth can shatter carefully built lies, and how identity cannot be erased, no matter how tightly it is constrained. The haunting imagery throughout the story gains new meaning, showing how the supernatural figures acted as fragments of truth long buried beneath deception. The balance between horror and revelation gives the film a layered complexity that makes the story resonate far beyond its frightening scenes. The ending leaves audiences with questions about what lies ahead for someone like Eli, rather than closing. With absolute certainty, the story invites viewers to imagine the next steps of his journey. Having broken free from confinement, he steps into a world that may not be ready to understand him. Yet he finally has the freedom he was denied his entire life. The sense of liberation is mixed with an undercurrent of unease, suggesting that the true story may just be beginning. Eli's transformation symbolizes the idea that sometimes the greatest danger is not the monster people fear, but the fear itself and the lengths to which people will go to contain what they do not understand. The film manages to blend atmospheric horror, emotional storytelling, and dramatic transformation into a cohesive and memorable experience. Its slower build-up creates tension that eventually explodes into a shocking and unconventional climax. By focusing on themes of confinement, identity, deception, and awakening, the story becomes more than just a haunted medical thriller. It becomes a metaphor for how people grapple with their true nature and the consequences of suppressing what they fear. The lingering questions, the eerie tone, and the dramatic shift from vulnerability to empowerment all combine to give Eli a distinct presence within modern psychological horror storytelling.